Pixar is dying. That's a sentiment that's been expressed many times, but I feel like going over why I feel this way. Because you might be thinking, why do I care so much? I've expressed numerous times that it doesn't matter if a movie doesn't deeply move you or serve any artistic value. Sometimes it's okay to make a simple, dumb, fun movie to which you turn off your brain. But that's the key word. Sometimes. It's okay to make those movies every now and then to give us a break from rich cinematic experiences. But if that's all you make, it becomes simplicity for the sake of simplicity. Dumb fun for the sake of dumb fun. Movies that work in a vacuum, but if there's nothing special to balance it out, it becomes boring. The proper thing to take away from my popcorn entertainment comments is, well, it's good to know that not everything we make has to be special, but we'll at least try every now and then. But the takeaway that is most present nowadays is, if diehard fans will defend the movies we put the least effort into with the excuse that it's simple popcorn entertainment, I guess that means we don't have to try in the first place. That is a terrible mindset. Marvel has fallen for this mindset. Disney has fallen for this mindset. And it seems that finally Pixar has fallen for this mindset as well. And what's the go-to? We don't need to try to succeed movie type for all studios under Disney's umbrella. Sequels. Sequels that don't add anything because they count on people to just see it because they love the original. But in Disney's case, that mindset at least makes sense. I don't agree with it from an artistic standpoint, but sometimes studios will prioritize profit over art. And I get it, money comes first at the end of the day. Deep down, Disney may understand that originals have more value, but their originals keep flopping, and their sequels keep making money. That kind of makes the choice for them. But it bothers me a lot more in Pixar's case because their logic for their reliance on sequels makes no sense. They try to tell us it's because their originals keep flopping. I mean, look, Soul, Luca, and Turning Red flopped in theaters. Now, at first, I was baffled when I heard Pixar use this logic because those movies were famously Disney Plus releases. But then I remember that they were re-released in theaters in early 2024, and they flopped. Now, I, for one, think it's very disingenuous to judge a movie's box office based on how it did on re-release. A lot of movies get re-released in theaters, and as acclaimed and loved as the movies themselves are, the amount of people who see it are naturally going to be less because the hype for a movie that already exists and can be watched at home is naturally lower. A movie like Raiders of the Lost Ark can get re-released and do poorly, but it won't count as a flop because they can look at its original theatrical run to look at how much money it would have made if it were released for the first time. But Pixar can't do that because there is no original theatrical release. The re-release is the only time these movies were ever in theaters, and if they flopped then, they're considered flops as a whole. Except that still doesn't make any fucking sense because it doesn't matter that this is the first time these movies are being shown in theaters. The movie still existed before, so it's still a re-release. So now that we've debunked the dumbass logic that leads to these three movies being considered flops, let's compare the originals that had a full theatrical release to the sequels. Elemental flopped. Yeah, it's still sad that Pixar can't do amazing, but it didn't do terrible. It made a comeback. You know what didn't make a comeback? Lightyear, which is a franchise extension in the same vein as those soulless sequels. So, if you remove the dumbass logic behind Soul, Luca, and Turning Red being flops, Pixar is actually doing better with originals this decade.
I'm anxiety. I'm one of Riley's new emotions, and we are just super jazzed to be here.
Oh no. Okay, so I told my friend I was making this video, and he told me that Inside Out 2 nukes my entire argument. Which it kinda does. It is proof that Pixar does make more money from sequels sometimes. But that just brings me back to my original point about how it's okay to do these things sometimes. It's just over-reliance that's the issue. People who don't understand nuance and think black and white see that a studio over-relying on sequels is ruining itself and jump to the conclusion that sequels are inherently bad. I'm not one of those people. I may hate that Pixar fully relies on them and doesn't take risks with their few originals, But I'm not gonna act like I hate sequels as a concept. That would be stupid and snobbish. I loved Incredibles 2, and I really liked Finding Dory and Toy Story 4. Yeah, these movies are good and work well as continuations, but if you don't have strong originals to serve as a counterbalance, then you'll just be known as the sequel studio. And is that really what you want to be known as? There is nothing wrong with making sequels every now and then to stay financially afloat, but that cannot be all you live on. A lot of people have been saying, well, Pixar's recent originals weren't actually good. Your desire for originals subconsciously made you like them. And as someone who isn't immune to biases impacting my opinions, I decided to give those criticisms a fair chance and rewatch the three most personal stories Pixar has made. More or less recent films that have always been proved to me that Pixar is still capable of making good movies when they try. That, of course, being Luca, Turning Red, and Elemental. Luca holds up perfectly. The simplicity isn't a substitute for substance. The movie has an amazing story, and the emotional core of all the shenanigans hits me in the feels during all the major emotional scenes. Turning Red is a similar case. Very fun, sweet, and the director puts a lot of her personal experience into the movie. And then there's Elemental. It's a sweet personal story that has a ton of heart, the art direction is solid, there's some sweet emotional scenes, and I like the characters a lot. But damn it, they did not have to give us a high-scale climax. The third act should have focused on the characters resolving their interpersonal issues. But yeah, still way better than the stuff Pixar makes nowadays. Furthermore, I think it's important to mention that even though solely relying on sequels is bad for all the reasons I mentioned, what movies you make sequels to matters as well. Some movies are so open-ended that it only makes sense to continue their stories, but Pixar is choosing the worst movies to make sequels to. Everyone I know is firmly against the idea of Toy Story 5, regardless of whether or not they liked the fourth movie. We all agree that either that movie was terrible or it was kinda good, but it's definitely time to stop here. But that doesn't compare to what I'm about to talk about. The bullshit announcement that I've been waiting to talk about for months. Coco 2. Holy shit, my favorite movie is getting a sequel and all I feel is dread. If this shit ends up being average, it'll hurt more than Inside Out 2. I genuinely don't know what to say. It could be good, but it's not likely, and I'll have to live with this uncertainty for, holy shit, 4 years. And if Pixar keeps making soulless sequels, do I really have faith that Incredibles 3 will be a satisfying conclusion to the trilogy? The answer, against my best wishes, is no, not really. Obviously, I hope I'm proven wrong, but I just don't know anymore. And why exactly is Pixar going down this route of soullessness? Well, the answer is quite simple. Disney's influence. Everything they touch falls to this mindset, from the MCU to Pixar to, well, their main studio. Moana 2 was proof for me that they're taking the Inside Out 2 route. Elio was proof that originals under the Disney umbrella aren't doing good either, since they just exist as a courtesy to people who want originals without putting any effort into them. And Zootopia 2 is gonna be the final nail in the coffin for this conglomerate. Just wait and see. I've lost hope for anything that comes from the Disney umbrella, including Pixar.